morning, everybody. This is John Scarborough. I wanted to have a little discussion today about armyworms and kind of talk to you about my experiences with armyworms. Now, I'll just go ahead and tell you, I'm not an expert on armyworms, and neither am I an expert in the hay business. But I just wanted to show you some of my observations, some of our experiences in the last several years since 2016 with armyworms, and some positives. I mean, it's a lot of positive experiences that we've had, even when others were having negative experiences. So that's kind of what I want to go over today. So if that's something that interests you, then hang tight. Today, I'm actually brush hogging with my little brush hog, using my little 6-foot brush hog. Usually I like to use my 15-foot batwing with my 90 horse. But sometimes I like to use this tractor, just depending on where I'm at. Some places are easier to get in and out. So, and the only reason I mention that is because I know that somebody will ask me in the comments. So that's why I'm putting that out there. So back to the topic today. The armyworms, they're really bad right now. We're in August, and they are incredibly bad everywhere. And they are, we got them. We're not exempt from the armyworms. In fact, if I open this up right here, we can see one. I can see one right there. Let's peel all that back. All right. So I can see one right there and one right there. So that's two that I can see. Try to get in close for anybody that doesn't know what armyworms are, because I understand that not everyone has armyworms, depending on where you're at, you know, your part of the country. Now, if the armyworms were bad, I wouldn't even have to peel the grass back. I could see on the leaf. See, like that right there, a little bite out? When they get real bad, you can see they're just everywhere. The bites are just everywhere. But they're not terrible here. In fact, I was just now on somebody else's place, and I peeled the grass back and took a look at it because it was really bad over there. They've got a hay field. We peeled the grass back, and in this section, this little area right here, there were probably 10 or 15 armyworms in that one spot. So that's what's interesting to me, is that our density of armyworms are significantly less. And so I'm trying to figure that out, why that is. Now, I've had several hypotheses on that. I've talked about it on our channel. We have several other videos. I won't go into too much depth on it. Y'all can watch those videos about a lot of that. A lot of it's going to be on stockpiling forage and things like that. But some of the hypotheses is, could it be the weeds? You know, could it be the fact that there are some weeds in this pasture here? Could it be the fact that we're not spraying insecticides and killing off the other insects, meaning that there's competition and there are insects that are competing with the moth larvae and with the moth that's actually laying the egg in the first place? I don't know. I don't know if that's what it is. I'd love to see some of y'all's comments on this, and I would love to see somebody do some research on this, because we've seen it. It's not like this is just as I'm sorry, can't talk. It's not like that this is just 1 year for me. This is every year. It's like this every year for me, consistently. Everyone else has way more trouble with armyworm. So you can see right there, we've got armyworm evidence right there. So we know that there's armyworms in this pasture, and I'm not trying to convince anybody that somehow I don't have any armyworms and I don't have any problems, even though I have, you know, I'm not trying to convince anybody of anything like that. This is more of an observation for me, but it is, I think it's worth looking into. And the reason is because since 2016, I have seen a significant number less of armyworms in my pastures than all the people around me. I haven't seen anyone else with the lack of armyworms in their pastures like I get. And part of it's curiosity. I'd love to know why that is. Now, let's talk a little bit more about some places where I never see them, okay? Because I've kind of gone over some of the places. You know, I have a lot of pastures where I see very small amounts of them. But there are places where I never see them. And one place that I never see them is in Bahia grass. I'm not saying they don't exist in there, I just don't see them in my Bahia. I see them in my crabgrass and I see them in my Bermuda grass, okay? They love that stuff. But in my Bahia, I don't see them. So much to the point that I've even had fields that were Bermuda, and then they come up to Bahia, and the larvae, the armyworm, will just stop completely, and they don't even go past it and keep eating the rest of the Bermuda grass. So that's what's interesting to me, is when it kind of like it stops them dead in their tracks. So that is one thing that I have seen. Another thing that I've seen where I just hardly ever see them at all, definitely a lot less evidence, is anywhere that I have this beautyberry. This is what this is called. You can look it up, beautyberry. From what I understand, it's edible, but I'm not, you know, you didn't get that from me. You go look that up for yourself. Apparently, the Native Americans would use this for bug repellent. Apparently, the leaf has got some kind of a smell to it when it's ground up, boiled. Sometimes if it's just rubbed directly on the skin, it will repel bugs, and they'll use it for mosquitoes and stuff like that. So I don't know if that's what it is or what it is. All I know is all the pastures that I have this in, which I don't like this stuff because it grows up so tall, you have to brush hog it. If you don't brush hog it at least every other year, it becomes so tall, I mean, sometimes 9 foot tall. It's so tall that you just can't get any sunlight down to your grass, so it will choke your grass out. So if you've got sheep, they will help control it, but they don't get rid of it completely. You're going to have to brush hog or something, but it's definitely a good feed source for sheep. As far as I know, I haven't actually fed them that. I know I've fed my goats that, but now that I think about it, I haven't actually fed sheep that. So somebody in the comments, if you've seen that, let us all know. But I know that my goats eat it and love it, but they can only reach so high on the taller plants. But I just find that I just don't seem, and I don't know, and I may look down here right now and find some armyworms. We'll see. I'll kind of look around in some different places here. But I just know, okay, so I spread that open, take a look, and I am not seeing any armyworms. I'm just not seeing anything. So I don't know if it's the beautyberry or if it's the fact that there are more species of weeds. This pasture where the beautyberry is where it was all clear cut. It's never even been disc. It's still really rough where the loggers came through. The pasture I just came from was a hay pasture, so it's different. It's a, you know, the weeds are different. You know, you still got your goat weed and things like that, but the weeds are different. So I'm curious. It makes me very curious about it because this is our first year with crabgrass in this pasture. We're starting to get some crabgrass coming up. We never planted it. It's just coming up. Some of it's from hay and everything else. But all the crabgrass that's here, this pasture is actually not a great example. This little spot right here is what I mean. But we have quite a few places across the creek there. I never did go over there, but all back in there, that creek was all just covered in crabgrass. Now, of course, you can't see it past these trees very easy, but it was just absolutely covered in crabgrass. And same thing, it was just dense, thick crabgrass, and I never saw any signs, because I always, as I'm going through, anybody that, you know, has hay pasture or cattle or anything like that, they're always checking for whatever your pests are. Now, for, you know, like when we were in East Texas, our biggest thing was grasshoppers. But over here, it is more armyworms than grasshoppers. There are grasshoppers, they just aren't as big, and they aren't as much of a problem, okay? So, like I said, I just don't know. But like when I look down right here, I do see one spot right there. So I'm gonna be curious. Let's just open it up and let's just see. Y'all just help me look together. Do we see any armyworms? Open up a nice big area here. I saw one little bite out. Of course, that could have easily been from a grasshopper as well. There it is. That's one. That's one. See if we can find any other ones. So this is a much larger little section here than any of the other sections that I looked at. The other section that we found, the 2 or 3, I don't remember what it was a section about that big, and we found 2 or 3. This is a much bigger section, and I'm seeing one. So maybe there could be more. Maybe it could just be luck of the draw, happen to be where I'm opening it up. But I don't think it is because, like I said, I'm not seeing a lot of damage. Now, a lot of you guys that are more experienced in this, y'all cut hay, y'all do stuff like this. You know, you spray these armyworms. We don't spray for armyworms. We don't spray for anything here. Not against it. Not telling anybody not to. We just don't here because we're selling our our product, you know, and we're trying to keep from spraying it so that we can keep our product as valuable as possible. And that's just the customers that we have, and that's what we want to try to do. There's several other reasons too, because we like what it does for our soil. But I don't have anybody, I don't want anybody thinking that I'm down on anybody who is doing that. That's, you know, if you're cutting a hayfield, sometimes it's really difficult not to do that, especially if you're about to lose all the investment you've just put into that, you know. So you guys that are cutting hay and you're dealing with us all the time, you guys deal with this probably more than even the cattle guys. Throw it in the comments. I want to see what y'all's thoughts are. But everybody else too, if there's anybody that is, you know, has access to a lab that can experience, you know, do some research on this, you know, I'd like to see some more stuff on this. What's going on here? Why is it, you know, is it the weeds, or is it the fact that we haven't killed off any bugs and there's a balance in the ecosystem here? Why is it that we have less armyworms than everyone else? Why is that? We have problems, but why is it? You know, is it, not saying it's worth it. That's a good question, and I think it's a question we all need to answer for all of us, for all of our sakes. Is there one little thing here that I'm doing by accident that everybody else could be doing? Maybe, maybe not. Don't know. At least you cattle guys that are in your cattle fields. Maybe not for your hay fields. So, guys, as always, like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and help me answer this question. And please, share this video so somebody can answer this question.